It's Natecast, August 3rd, 2026. I'm here with the brilliant fortune teller.
The Nostradamus of Williamsville.
Yes. Wait, we got to get our announcer. Announcer got to get on here. Hold on a second.
This is Central Control. This is Central Control. Stand by.
What'd you think of that, Tony?
Not a lot, Nate. I think he should get on a diet of prunes or something. He just sounds a little bit out of sorts, shall we say.
All right, listen. You're a capitalist, hardcore. My good friend, a money man, a bag man.
You know, there you go. I like the bag man better.
So you're a money guy. What's going on here? Wait a second. So wait a second, Tony. Wait a second.
Is this not working?
Oh, something's wrong. Oh, I took your picture away, Tony. Hold on.
It could be good.
There you are. I found you.
There we are.
Better than ever. Looking great. Yeah, you're a money guy. You make money. You make people money. That's what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a money guy. So Tony, I'm not talking to a member of the card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists here, am I?
Absolutely not.
And if I am, that's fine. I just want to make it clear to my audience that you're not. Do you think that our government is functioning as a healthy capitalist system as we speak?
Well, it is capitalist, but it is crony capitalist. It's sort of like the oligarchs in Russia, where if you pay up, if you pay tribute to me, if you kiss my keister, I'm going to allow you to do whatever it is you'd like to be able to do.
So let me tell you what I believe, Tony, and see if you agree. I believe in a system that rewards effort, ingenuity, and merit.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in whether it's a classroom or an economic system.
So you believe in a meritocracy?
In a sense, yes. But even though that word has a bad connotation because it implies those in America's system today are failing because of lack of merit. No, I believe in a true meritocracy where if you work hard, you should be rewarded. And if you're smart, you should be rewarded. Doesn't mean we shouldn't take care of people who aren't so lucky, who aren't so smart, maybe not even smart. Maybe their skills don't really apply to the capitalist system in the way others may.
Well, yeah, they're not remunerated because society places different values from different eras on different skill sets.
Right, and certain times we rewarded people that were, artists and
well, sure. I mean, look,
cultural contributors, and now we reward people that are more like computers, and that may change as AI advances, right? So at different times, capitalist system rewards different people in different ways, right?
Right, and Warren Buffett spoke to this because he said, look, when you look at his skill set and maybe the skill set of Bill Gates, he said if we were born 100 years earlier, society would not have rewarded the skill set that we have. If you look at two composers, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Andrew Lloyd Webber, both fine composers, but I don't think you could say Andrew Lloyd Webber is better than Mozart. Mozart died in a pauper's grave. Andrew Lloyd Webber is a billionaire. Depends when you were born and what society valued, what the capitalistic system did.
Exactly. Right. And so you could be the greatest, jazz musician in the world as you speak right now. And you know what? Things may not work out for you because nobody really listens to it. It's not commercially viable anymore, or like it used to be. So we agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
But in the system we have today, we have people like Elon Musk who complains about, poor kids in Africa getting AIDS medication and, cuts that. And by The Economist, I think The Economist said that he is responsible for at least 700,000 deaths, no matter what he says. Elon Musk gets $1 billion from the city of Buffalo for his solar plant that never provides, anywhere near the amount of jobs he promised. Is a big shell sitting there doing nothing. He gets, billions of dollars to start Tesla. He gets, endless amounts of money to run space, basically run NASA for us. So all of his contracts, all of his money is coming from the government, and he's not unique. You look at Palantir. So we have a system that chooses winners, and then everybody else. How are you supposed to compete with Palantir? How are you supposed to compete with Elon Musk? He has been rewarded and chosen as a victor in the capitalist system well beyond his merit or ingenuity. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what. Nobody put a gun to Andrew Cuomo's head to cut the deal he did with Solar City and later with Tesla. He knew that we were overtaxed as a state and that it was an adverse business climate. People didn't want to come here. And the only way, he could get that to happen is to bribe someone and say, look, if you give us X number of jobs, and by the way, the jobs are, they're not having to pay a $42 million penalty because the jobs are there. They may not be the same quality of jobs, we were looking for. A lot of them just require a high school diploma.
But Tony, he was, the deal did not work out for New York State, obviously. He was betting on the dream of Tesla, which is what Tesla does, which is what Elon does. They market the idea of this vision. Like I always say this, humans are motivated by stories, first and foremost. And Elon tells a great story. We're going to Mars. We're going to have a green future. And he gets people to believe in that dream. He's a hype man.
I agree with you, but the governor and the state legislature, they knew at that time that Tesla was not a profitable corporation.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
So why is government investing tax dollars in a startup enterprise that is losing money?
Why did they give $165 million to Amazon over here in Niagara County? Or how much, whatever the number is. It's a ridiculous amount. Or why did they give $1 billion to the Bills Stadium? To a profitable company. So we're constantly picking winners or losers in the capitalist system is what I'm saying.
These are three different things, so I'd like to take each of them if I can. Number one, when you look at Tesla, you've got to, this is a speculation. That investment in the plant was a speculation. I don't think government should not be speculating with taxpayer dollars. So that's number one. Number two, Amazon is an incredibly profitable corporation. It's a going concern, and you're betting against, you're in competition with other states. And so that's just the game. It's unfortunate.
You're making the assessment. Well, that's not true because they were desperate to get on Grand Island and they were willing to give us a good deal. They gave Niagara County a much worse deal. Part of it is who you have negotiating for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so they wanted a big flashy project for the town of Niagara and they got it, but it looks like a horrendous deal for a company that is very, very profitable. So, but
I agree. My
point I'm trying to make, let's see if you agree with this, is that we have a broken capitalist system. So whether you're a capitalist or not, and the argument against capitalism, which you can read in thousands of books, is that every 10 to 15 to now 5 years, the cycle is getting shorter, you have a collapse because the system really is made to support the most elite and powerful. It's really not about meritocracy. And then the victims of the collapse, like you had in the mortgage crisis, are the weakest people, the people least equipped to bear the collapse itself. So, you have this savings and this huge crisis where they bundled all of these derivative loans and mortgages into these huge packages, these financial vehicles that I've never seen before. But the banks get bailed out, but the average homeowner gets punished and said, you were the problem. You lied on your mortgage. You should go to jail. One more time. Now we're in this situation where Trump is leading us into war. The economy is crashing. We're bailing out Venezuela, which country? Argentina. Bailing out Argentina. Now we're bailing out Japan. Everyone's on pins and needles. We're facing a global conflict. And so, again, it seems that we're going towards the cliff that these different people have warned about with the capitalist system. Go ahead.
Well, let me say this. Corporations, by and large, are looking to do one thing, which is to privatize their profits and to socialize the losses. In other words, if they're making money, they want to be able to keep those profits. And in the event that they're losing money, they would like the public to be able to pick up the tab on that. Now, that's a fact. We know that's the motivation. But when we've got people in government, when we've got legislators in government, their job is to make sure that regulations are set and incentives are set in such a fashion that the probability in the event something blows up, that they're not going to be socializing the losses and expecting the taxpayer to pick up the tab. That's their job. It's to protect us and to protect the public till. So I would say that. All right. A second point is what we've got going on right now with the Trump administration is called crony capitalism, which means you pay to play. If you want loose regulation for your industry, if you want us to be able to look the other way, if you want us to be giving you contracts, government contracts, all you have to do is to pay into my political action committee, make me or my family wealthier, and you're going to do well. And that's exactly, what the oligarchs, that's sort of the deal they've cut in Russia. And it's not our system.
It's not supposed
It's
to
a
be
horrible
our system.
thing.
And we've
No.
been here before, and you and I have talked about it on this podcast before. There was the Gilded Age. Gilded means covered in gold, just like the statues that Trump is
Right.
covering.
Right.
It's got nothing on the inside, but the outside glitters. And you had an era in America where you had these very, very wealthy people exploiting regular people in horrible working conditions, just terrible exploitation. It's actually statistically much worse now. And the result of that last Gilded Age era was FDR and the New Deal, saying it's not fair, we're going to do it. And I'm hopeful we're on the verge of that again. We're on the cusp of an era where we're going to say, the Democratic Party is going to say, listen, what unifies people isn't these identity issues or these cultural issues. What unifies people across race, gender, whatever, is money, is financial concern, right? Hey, you want to see a unified group? Go to a union. They're there.
Hey, listen,
Every
I
race,
think
color, creed is there behind the union saying, hey, in this factory, you're not going to exploit us. And so the Democratic Party has to wake up and realize that's the issue. Money.
Yeah, well, I do think the Democratic Party is lost in space right now. They're financially bankrupt compared with the Republicans.
I'm going to talk about that for a second. Why do you think that is? This is a tough thing to talk about.
I think one of the reasons is that they really opened up the wallet for Kamala Harris, and they were sort of lied to in that regard, and they spent a ton of money. They didn't spend it well, and they lost. And it's like, I don't know.
Partially, but it's also because the big donors, they don't like to talk about an equal capitalist system. They like the system as it is. They're paying to keep the system the way it is. They're not going to give to a Democratic Party that's moving to the left. Saying,
Well, here's the proof.
I'm sorry, they're not. Go ahead.
Here's the proof of what we're going to see. I think what we're going to do is look at the midterm elections. And in the event the Democrats take over the House, maybe it's a tie in the Senate, I don't know. But in the event they did that, I think you want to look at the fundraising and see where the money goes. I don't think these people care about Republicans. They don't care about Democrats. All they care about is who's in power, who can help them out. That's where they're going to throw the money, in my humble opinion.
I agree. I agree with that. So here we are. We talked about deregulation and how the age-old answer for politics or for Republicans are like, hey, just deregulate, free up the economy, keep people safe, make money. Well, now we have in Western New York the ultimate case of why unfettered corporate greed is bad. We have radiation in people's homes. We have Love Canal leaking, okay? We have all of these stories that are going to go national, by the way. It's going to be a national story, okay? It's going to be national. All of this stuff.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I don't know all the details. There's a great story in the Investigative Post this morning, but I've talked to several people, and they're saying, hey, there's contamination on our soil, and we live next to Love Canal, and the EPA said it's safe to move in here. many times. Here we are. There's, people with multi or $1 million homes along the riverfront who allegedly have toxic waste under their yards. So all of this, and people think Love Canal is one spot. There was many landfills across that area. So the radiation, the landfills, all this stuff. And who's in charge of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency?
Oh, that would be the federal government.
No, it's Lee Zeldin, who ran for governor, and he's under the platform of deregulation. Deregulation, under the platform that the EPA is bloated and it is out of control. Now we're in a situation where this is the guy we have to go to say, hey, help us in Niagara Falls. The guy that said, this agency actually sucks and I don't want to help you. And I think it hurts the economy to have environmental safeguards. So this is the problem with you said crony capitalism. I call it vampire capitalism. This is not what helps economies long term. It helps certain people make maximum benefits in the short term.
Well, what I will say is one of the hallmarks of this administration, which is so many norms have been just obliterated, by this administration. You really have never had an administration, to my reckoning, who put people in positions as secretaries of cabinet departments, whose avowed job has been to dismantle the very agency that they have been chosen to lead. So it's a bizarre thing.
It's the Ronald Reagan comment, hey, I'm here from the government. The scariest words, I'm here for the government to help.
The government.
I always say this. The scariest words are, hey, I need some help, and the government says, help yourself. Hey, I live next to Love Canal. You said it was safe. Too bad. Move. That is the way.
How about this, Nate? How about this? How about I need help? You didn't vote for me. I'm not giving your state any money.
Yeah, that's what's happened with Trump.
Right?
So
but listen, with these jobs...
Can you believe that right now? By the way, there's a huge wildfire breaking out in Spokane, Washington. God bless the people there. Be safe. It looks like hell. Should Canada put tariffs on the United States for it? I mean, think about it. 2 weeks ago, Canada had wildfires, and Trump said, I'm going to punish you, our closest ally, for wildfires, for a natural disaster. That's just one thing that happened the last couple of weeks. He also said, in the middle of saying, hey, I'm about making America healthy again, we have a once in a lifetime breakout of measles. Well, I don't know if you saw Dana Bash interviewing, what's his name, RFK Jr.
What a joke RFK Jr.
He couldn't even answer a basic question. And Trump is removing safeguards on tobacco use for kids.
Yep.
This is the Maha movement, smoke more cigs? Okay, meanwhile, we have this war overseas that's, it's spiraling out of control. And he's not exactly a Winston Churchill moment. He spends the night posting pictures of himself as Elvis. It's insane.
By the way, it was a thinner Elvis. Elvis, by the way, never looked like that at the end, and Trump certainly doesn't either.
Elvis was, good looking dude though. Back in the day, he had some real charisma. I mean, I could go on and on. He said that the reflecting pool was perfect, and there was a 600-foot gash or whatever. And now they're saying, no, actually, it was a botched job. He lied right to our faces, and so did his officials. There's since Watergate, people have never trusted the government. I think Trump is creating a level of distrust in our government that may be impossible to erase.
Let me step back and let me say this. Increasingly, I think people are beginning to recognize that he is not a well man. He's unhinged. You can't believe anything he says. There will never be an agreement signed because there isn't an agreement that he won't walk away from. So as long as he is in office, I believe globally it's just wait him out because he's someone who's impossible to deal with. His word means nothing. Unfortunately, he's running the United States, and the United States word means nothing right now. What's going to happen once he's out of office is there's going to be a reckoning between our allies among themselves, and they're going to have to make a determination whether he has fundamentally altered what the United States stands for or whether he was an aberration.
I think the
And the
problem I
jury's
have, the
still out.
problem I have with this guy, among many,
Mhm.
is that he has changed what we do stand for as a country. One of the big China, right? China. China, the complaint about China is that, well, their argument is America lies. They don't care about values and human rights. That's a joke. All that matters is power. And no one should be able to tell the person with the most power what to do. And for 50 years, we said, no, that's not true. There are higher values that a country should have. And one of them is the respect of human life. And then we now are, randomly invading places like Venezuela. There was no consensus about invading Venezuela. He just did it. Talking about taking Greenland, talking about, wandering into a war, stumbling into a war in Iran. But beyond that, the use of videos and music to mock human beings, whether they're here illegally or not, to make fun of the loss of human life or the other's suffering, you are becoming like what we claimed China is like. I've heard my whole life, well, they don't respect human life. Workers have no value. How do you think making a video with ICE using Ariana Grande or somebody else's music to mock the person, what does that say about how our country values human life, human rights, and human dignity? I think he really has permanently damaged, and it's going to take a lot to fix it, to make it semi-permanent and hopefully not permanent. And do you agree with what I'm saying? He's basically fulfilled what China has argued about the United States for 50 years, that we're liars and fakes. And all this stuff that we talk about human rights and freedom isn't real. And I hope that we can fix it, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you. I would say that his talent is utilizing repetition as a way to create a distortion field about what he believes is reality and then forcing his reality on us. The one set of individuals who you cannot do that with would be the Iranians. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't understand the fact that sending two real estate guys in are never going to negotiate something like this. The fact is, he changes like a flag from day to day to day, and nobody really knows what he thinks because he doesn't know what he thinks. And let's just tick through a few. Let's just tick through a few of the illustrations of his impulsivity. All right. So the reflecting pool was a rush because he had to have it ready for the 250th anniversary. Right. You saw what happened with that. The Cody's coming out. By the way, he's not doing a bidding process. He's just here's a guy I know. Have him do that.
Yeah,
Then we do the East Wing. You don't go through different boards of architectural review. You just say one day I'm bringing in the excavators and they're whacking down the East Wing. Now it's just a hole with a lot of rubble in it. The plane, he gets a plane. He says, well, and I got to have the plane. I got to have it. I can't wait for Boeing to get this done. So what do we find? It's now grounded for security upgrades because that wasn't ready. Tariffs, remember he came out with the tariffs? Tariffs were crazy business. Did that. Then, I got to put a 90-day pause on it. Why? Because the market tanked and everyone said this was just a crazy thing. And then, we've got the USMCA. This agreement, he says, is the finest agreement ever negotiated. A year later, well, I hate it all, and we're going to blow it up. USAID, he ended up we're just going to have Musk blow that thing up. And without asking who's
Tony,
going to
is
take...
he just stupid? I mean, like, we could go through these. There's a million examples.
Sure.
Is he just emotionally unstable and stupid?
Yes, he is.
Is it really that simple, though?
He is emotionally dysregulated because he's always wanted it listen, his whole point was, if you read any of his books, he'd go into the office with no planning. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm going to sit down and wait for the phone to ring.
He's a rich kid who never had any consequences and now is the leader of the country and is driven by attention and greed. That's it.
By the way,
he'll do whatever he can to get more money and to have our attention, to have our eyes focused on him, whatever it is.
And when he has to do a speech, he has to do a policy thing. Anyway, it always turns into a rally speech about his grievances.
It's all about him all the time. Let's move on, though, because let's
Sure.
get a couple of videos here. I want to talk about
former
Fauci.
Olympian David Hearn. Given what he's gone through, should he be eligible for money from the anti-weaponization fund?
She's asking the David Hearn, the guy that, or I think that's his name, that was accused of destroying the reflective pool, that is now found that have done nothing.
Right, the Olympian.
She's asking Jim Jordan, should he get compensation from the government for being attacked?
That'd be up to the board. I mean, if
this
thing is formed, remember, that's up to. I don't make the decision. It's up to them.
What
I do know is Peter Strzok shouldn't have got $1.2 million.
So you have an opinion on that?
President Trump's election campaign.
You have an opinion that he shouldn't have got it. What about David Hearn?
Well, that'll be up to the board. And I don't know all the facts. This story just broke. I don't know all the facts. Why they did.
Listen, it's almost stupid to watch. But
I want to play.
So they went to the stadium.
All right, let's go to Fauci. Okay, so Fauci's journals have been released, okay, by RFK Jr. And they basically say a little cringy stuff, because anybody writing a journal is going to be a little cringy, right? Like, ooh, isn't it amazing that Julia Roberts knows who I am? God forbid somebody say that.
Nate, were these on government servers or what?
Yes, they were on his personal.
Why? So the first question.
Because he's been in government for 50 years. Okay, whatever. But let me say this real quick. Do you know what wasn't in these files, Tony? Any secret plot to program our brains? Any idea to call the herd and kill Americans? Any mind control? None of the conspiracies that we heard about Tony Fauci were in these. It was basically, hey, maybe this came from a lab, which, by the way, I've said since the beginning, I think it came from a lab.
Yeah.
I've said it. A lot of us have. Mm-hmm. Maybe Tony didn't say that because he didn't want to publicly defame China in the middle of a pandemic, because he was trying to coordinate in a defense against this pandemic with the global nations. But what wasn't in the journals was an admission that this was some secret plot, like we were told. Okay? So that to me should be the most newsworthy element. But because we're humans, and I always say we're motivated by emotion and stories, the thing that comes out is, oh my God, he liked being on TV.
Well, Peggy Noonan in the Wall Street Journal came out and said, well, unfortunately, this guy was just caught up with his own praise and wasn't handling business. But, he has gone through multiple, I won't say pandemics, but, Ebola, SARS, HIV, whole host of things. I mean, he's been the guy in government for the past probably 40 years. And anyone who is a professional in the field would say that his credentials are certainly a lot more unassailable than RFK Jr.'s. I think what this is again a distraction from the fact that prices are continuing to go up, energy prices are going up, people are not feeling good. The president's ratings are as low as Dick Nixon's were 2 days before he resigned his office. Congress is being held in low esteem. This is the least productive Congress in anyone's lifetimes. And so what we're going to do is go back to the past and try and push blame off of the government, off of the administration.
Yeah, but who was the boss, Tony? This is the thing that's so funny.
The president was the boss.
No independent authority. Now,
right.
Listen, you can go back and watch. Even during the lockdowns, I was like, listen, I don't know, but I'm going to do what I'm told, not because I'm a sheep, because I'm not a scientist. I thought even in real time, it was annoying that our public leaders were on television 15 hours a day preaching to us, including the person I'm running against right now, by the way. She had her own TV show during the pandemic. It's like you're like some sort of celebrity. And it wasn't just her. It was all these guys. All these guys suddenly like, ooh, this is an opportunity to be in the limelight. And it seemed weird. And I was one of the only guys saying it locally. Like, why the heck is the governor on TV for 15 hours a day? What is going on? Give us, where are the scientists? What you should have been doing is putting the actual health experts on the air, but all the politicians were on the air all the time.
Exactly. And what doesn't come out, and what people, conveniently forget, is the fact that the president said this is nothing to worry about. He said, you will all be in church for Easter. It's not a problem.
Well, they're trying to claim in revisionist history that the real problem, Tony, was that we hurt old people by keeping them away from their families. And listen, I hated it too. We couldn't go to my mother's house.
And New York State also, don't forget, they had lockdowns in these nursing homes. And they ended up, many people ended up perishing because of that.
There's
and
a
that
valid
was,
argument to be had that it hurt kids and it hurt old people. It's a valid
Right.
discussion. But
Right.
what's not valid is to say that Anthony Fauci did this as part of some malicious plot to take over the country independently when he was serving the president who could have fired him at any moment.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
Listen to this Senator Marino, who, by the way, up until this moment, until he got called out on this because his son allegedly beat up his daughter, his son is a congressperson, his son-in-law. Here he's acting like a tough guy.
They sat alone, far from everybody else, just a mom, a dad, a few kids. They didn't feel they needed to wear masks because it was stupid,
How did you know?
because they were outside. They all live together.
Yeah, how did
They're
you
not
know?
near anybody. Dr. Fauci, do you know what happened to that mom and that family?
I got to fast forward.
That's a question. Listen to the word to idiotic politicians who enforce those rules.
He wasn't a politician, though.
Arrested
the
that mom
politician
from watching a football game
was
with her own family
Donald Trump.
outside. When that story broke,
Get to the point, dude.
I said to myself, I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate.
All right. listen, he says F you to the South. I can't find it. It's because he's preaching. He's like,
Well, Nate, I think I read the story on this. The tell is there was another woman who also claimed that he had been abusive. So apparently this was not just a one-off.
no, but like this guy Marino, his father-in-law, is like
Right.
told Fauci F himself, like he's some tough guy. Well, stand up to your son-in-law in the Congress, and now he's done it after this came out. But like, it's all theatrics.
It is theater.
It's just like emotion. There's no substance to it. Did COVID suck? Yes. Did people make mistakes? Yes. But part of the mistakes were the people who, no matter what advice came out, said, F you, I don't care. I know some lady, someone in my life, who had COVID like 6 times, and no matter how many times she got sick, she wouldn't take any precautions. How many people did she expose to the sickness? And don't pretend it wasn't a big deal. 2 million people died in the United States, nearly a quarter of all COVID deaths.
Nate,
So
do you
like
remember?
there was a lot of blame to go around, and the revisionist history that this was all some secret plot of Dr. Fauci, who obviously made some mistakes and had some ego issues or whatever else, but he was serving the president. The president was the boss. Go ahead.
I understand, but RFK came out with the interview with Dana Bash, and he's saying that the hospitals were not overloaded, ICUs were not overloaded. I mean, Nate, you remember they brought the refrigeration trucks in to New York? They're all lined up.
It's just a
for the
lie.
corpses.
It's an open lie. It's an open lie from a man who
And
is.
so the bottom line is, the president says, I want you to come out. This is why he keeps RFK Jr. He says, look, I want you to go out and just lie. And interestingly, Dana Bash, who was no, she's no pushover. She just said, you're lying right to his face. And
Yeah.
he ends up looking like a dope.
He looks
in my
crazy
opinion.
because you know what? I don't know what the right word to use it. What's the right word?
He just really lacks credibility.
Fool, idiot, quack. I call him a quack, but he's not a doctor, so he's just a psycho. He's a psycho. Like the guy is a psycho. Or he's not a normal person. He is a mentally disturbed person. Listen to his own family who says that. He is mentally unwell. He's deranged. And by the way, for anyone who's mad at me about my comments saying, hey, if Dr. Fauci had some secrets, wouldn't it be in his journal? Because his journal just says, hey, I like to be on TV. He's vain. He misguided, whatever else. But there was no smoking gun in that journal. If you're mad at me about COVID, maybe be mad at the person I'm running against who was on TV every day. Maybe be mad at the president who was in charge of all of it. Like the problem with COVID, I think, more than anything else, is there was no leadership. Nobody said, this is what we're going to do. I need the American people to be behind me. Instead, he was always looking behind his shoulder, blaming Fauci one day, then standing with Fauci the next day. And then remember, when Fauci left office, who gave him an award, an accommodation? The president. The president said, thank you for your heroic service, and gave him an accommodation. I mean, not me, not Nate McMurray. I didn't do that.
Accommodation, not an accommodation.
What did I say?
Yeah, he got excited.
He actually gave him an accommodation, meaning he gave him a secret passage.
Accommodation. An accommodation is, I'm going to cut you some
accommodation.
What? There you go.
No, he accommodated him, meaning that he gave him, he wanted a vegetarian meal, and he gave it to him. No, I'm kissing.
Yeah.
Moving on to Congresswoman Stevens. Do you know this? I want your take on this. What do you feel about this? What's the guy's name? El Said?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's a doctor, right?
Yeah, give me your take.
Yeah. Well, I think he is appealing to a segment of the population who says, and not surprisingly, the system isn't working for me. And I am not interested in somebody who's been part of the system. I am interested in someone who's going to come in and make some real adjustments for me. I will say that, when you look at Mamdani, which is a cut of the same cloth, he says he's going to open up supermarkets in New York City, and he's going to have fresh fruit so that people, in some of the deserts over there are going to be able to have access to higher quality food. I'm just telling you, Nate, my personal take on this is I think people are geared to want salt. They're geared to want sweets. They're buying these snacks because they like them. And if you put in a whole rack of bananas and plums and apples and stuff like that, yeah, you know why? Because listen, I was teaching in school for years, for 9 years. You have cafeteria duty. You see all the fruit that gets dumped in the barrels, and what do the kids want? They just want pizza because that's what they want every day. And I think it's a similar type of thing here. We're going to see, and we're entitled to see how it plays out. But the bottom line is, facts are going to be facts, and you can say what you want, but it's going to play out. And we'll see.
So I'm going to give you my take on this. People, like I just told you in the beginning of the podcast, we're in a second Gilded Age. Elon Musk is laughing at the American people, literally mocking the American people, and we're like, he's a trillionaire, okay? And I can't even tell you what he does. You're like the only person I know locally who has a Tesla. Like, I don't see Teslas everywhere. How is his company worth more than every other motor company combined?
Because it's not a motor. It's not a motor company, and what he does is he sees that that's not working. His Cybertruck is a bigger bomb than the Edsel was, the Ford Edsel, which was Henry Ford's son, than when that came out. By the way, so now he says it's going to be AI, it's going to be cyber taxis, and it's going to be full self-driving. Those are the things you're to judge me on. And based on that, they've got a $300 stock. Absent that, the car companies
it's all speculation. Stock. It's all speculative. It's all, hey, this is coming.
Sure it is.
So, but that's my point. There's nothing real behind it. There's nothing physical. There's no. It's just a joke. It's a myth of this era of finance that doesn't really mean, like, what are you actually providing? What good or service are you doing for us, Elon? So you make these spectacular rockets, many of which blow up, paid for by the U.S. government largely. But what are you doing to make our lives better? Yes, you made a cool car 20 years ago, paid for by the U.S. government. But
I'll tell you what, if you, all right,
let's get to the main point, because you're always let's stay on this point. People are mad, okay? They're mad. They're mad that they work every day and they can't pay their mortgage. They're mad they can't fill up their gas tank. They were mad at Biden, and now they're more mad. So the Democratic Socialists may be wrong about some things, but they're saying, hey, we need a different system. And when you have people on the other side who are like, actually, the system needs a few tweaks. And they're like, no, a few tweaks isn't going to do it. So, and this woman, Stevenson, is so disgenuine. She sounds so phony. And she's taken, let me just play this real quick, $47 million for her campaign from AIPAC and related sources? $47 million? That's disturbing stuff. Let me play this.
Haley Stevens, are you taking money for your campaign from DTE or consumers?
No, but let me say this, Roop. I have been transparent.
But then $40,000 in direct receipts to her campaign from DTE's corporate PAC.
This is one corporate PAC. She's taken so much money is flooded into this campaign. It's ridiculous, and they're from corporate sources. So in an era where people are mad at the current capitalist system, they say it's not working for them. How could you elect someone like Stevens?
Well, let me say this. I think the resentment that a lot of people have is that they drank the Trump Kool-Aid, which was, I am going to cut gas prices, I am going to cut food prices, I am going to cut the debt, I'm going to do everything to make your life better. He gets in office, and all he wants to do is enrich himself, his family, and his well-heeled supporters. And people resent that the people they put in office are not working for them today. They just are not working for them, and they're saying,
and they haven't
I
been.
want an alternative.
I know this firsthand. The Democratic Party is a clique. If you're in the clique, you have to turn part of your mind off, and if you stand up to that clique, they will throw you out on your rear. And if you see people like James Carville right now saying if El Sayed wins or if Hassan Piker is part of the party, he's out. Nobody says that on our side. Our side says if somebody wins, we're going to support them. But their side says we will not accept people that are more progressive minded. You know, I sent you the clip. I don't know if you watched it. Gary Stevenson, did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So Gary Stevenson is arguably the greatest trader in the last 10 years at Citibank. Working class kid, super bright. He made a ton of money, and he said, this doesn't make any sense. How come I'm getting all this money for doing so little when my father works at the post office and has to kill himself for a fraction of what I get as a bonus? And so he turned, because he had the experience of living in both worlds, he became anti-capitalist. He became someone who says we need to have a wealth tax. He says, and if this isn't a good answer, he's like, well, give me the answer, because what you have is an economy that's growing at 2 to 3%. And then you have the wealth of the
1.5 right now.
1.5. And the wealth of the richest Americans growing at 20 to 30%. And so you have this small group that is growing this fast. There's nowhere to put their capital. So what they're doing is there's not enough they can consume in a system that's growing that slow when their wealth is growing that fast. So what they're doing is just buying more and more stuff, more mortgages, more homes, more land. And so the rest of us have less and less, and the governments have less and less. And so you have governments that are on the brink of bankruptcy around the world, while you have these guys saying, we're not going to pay any more taxes. What if they just paid more taxes? You could fund these governments. You could fund healthcare. You could fund all this stuff. So I think that argument is completely compelling. It makes sense. It makes mathematical sense. It makes logical sense that we have to figure out a way to say so many people don't have so much, so some of the rest of us can have anything. And Gary says what the future is, and I agree with this, it's Dickensian, but worse. And if you don't think it can happen, it already happened in England. It already happened in the United States, the Gilded Age. And if you look at what's happening in India right now, you go to a luxury hotel, you walk out, everyone's on the street homeless. And that's the future he predicts for England. That's the future he predicts for the United States. And if you look at his record of accurate predictions, sadly, I think he's right. And so Stevenson and these corporate Democrats giving these incremental changes, that isn't going to work. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
All right, let me take the other side of the coin for a minute. What I can say is that America and the world's a lot better off because Bill Gates created Microsoft. I think the world, and it's true. I mean, look at the productivity we have. Look, everyone is using.
Okay, keep going.
Everyone's using their product. I think the world is a better place because Jeff Bezos invented Amazon. You look at the tremendous time savings, variety, all the stuff that we have today that we wouldn't have had if he didn't come up with that. And you can go down the line with a variety of different people who've done things. Now, when you look at these people with tremendous wealth, generally speaking, they're not going to be able to take it with them. And, Buffett has come up with a giving pledge, which says during their lifetime, they're going to give away 50% of the wealth they've got. So I think that I don't know any other country in the world where the philanthropy is as significant as it is in the United States. It may not be the same thing as giving the government the money and letting them spend it. Instead, they take the money and they invest it in causes that they believe are perhaps more efficient.
Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Where's the Elon Musk hospital?
He's a guy.
Where's the Peter Thiel library? They're not doing this, saying. Tony. And
I hear what you're saying.
One more thing, and I'll hear your point next.
Right.
Okay, Warren, you got all this money because you were born in the United States by your own admission. Because you know darn well if you're born in Kenya or something, you wouldn't have had these opportunities. So you have these opportunities. You've made this enormous amount of wealth because your skill set applies at this moment. How about we just take that money from you? Because it's it's a windfall. You know it's an unreasonable amount of money, and you know our government is failing. So instead of opening in a hospital, it says the Buffett School of Medicine. Maybe you say, hey, we need to have you benefited from our roads, from our infrastructure, from our students, from all of this stuff, and we need you to help pay for it. So instead of getting the windfall to create this institution that benefits you and your legacy, maybe we have to have a fair tax system that says, hey, and unlike when we were young and a CEO would make 10 times more, you've made 1,000,000 times more than the average worker. And that doesn't seem to make sense logically. So you should give back by regulation, as we talked about in the beginning of this, a share of your windfall. Doesn't that just make sense to you, Tony?
Well, it does if your guys are in charge, but they're not. And if you took his money, what would it do? It would go toward the defense budget was increased by $500 billion from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. It would go there. It would go toward.
That's a great point, and it's a fair point.
There are many points.
And it's not going to reduction of debt. These guys, this is the reason philanthropists don't want to give it to the government is because they see what they do with it.
And it's a fair point. You're going to throw it down the garbage. Yeah, I get it. And that's why we need better people in office. By the way,
I agree with you.
Over 1,000 people have listened to this so far on TikTok. Hey, everybody. And for those who've given to my campaign over the last 24 hours at voteNateMcMurray.com, God bless you. I think I'm going to qualify for the matching funds. It looks good. Fingers crossed, Tony. It looks like we did it. Over the weekend, we had a big drive, and I want to thank everybody for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think probably the best thing the Democratic Party can do is get some better candidates.
But let's talk about, you made a great point about the defense, and I want to talk about that. So we spent $1.5 trillion on national defense. $1.5 trillion. And we're losing a war to people with, Radio Shack drones.
Yeah.
So
by the way, we're out of Patriot missiles also.
We're out of missiles. All that money went to that. And now you're like, well, we're safer. We're obviously not safer. The Iranians are now hacking our water system, even though the president doesn't want to talk about it. If you think we're free of terror in this country, you're not old enough to remember 9/11. You and I are, Tony. We lived through it.
Yeah.
We are in a scary moment. And I'm going to play this video about what's happening in Ukraine because Ukraine is innovating in ways that were unforeseeable even a couple years ago.
Are uncrewed ground vehicles, or UGVs. They're made by a Ukrainian robotics developer, and this technology is a perfect example of how I saw warfare change in just over a year. I'm a defense correspondent for Business Insider, and the first time I went to report on the war in Ukraine was in March 2025. I just returned from my second visit, and the progress I saw in weapons production was eye-opening. When I went the first time, the focus was on FPV drones, like this one, which gives operators a view as if they're on the drone itself. Just 14 months later, Ukraine's defense industry has developed a whole new class of weapons. At a secret location, one company showed us the Perun Max, a massive drone capable of bomber missions. The drone uses Starlink instead of radio frequencies and GPS, making it less vulnerable to electronic warfare. At another secret location, a different company showed us these UGVs, or ground robots. They're replacing human soldiers in what's known as the kill zone. The robots can deploy
So Ukraine independently has developed these incredible robots, which are terrifying in and of itself, AI-driven. They work on Starlink. They don't even have to be operator-driven at this point. They're terrifying. But they're doing this on a shoestring budget. Innovation, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. They had to do it.
Exactly.
But in America, we're giving huge, fat pork contracts to defense developers that are making weapons and ships that we can't even use. One of the reasons we can't enter the Strait of Hormuz is because we will lose an aircraft carrier to drones. And I saw yesterday a video of a drone company accidentally breaking through to a Chinese warship that is supposed to be stealth, and they could get right next to the warship. So we're entering an era where overwhelming military force for the United States, for Russia, for China doesn't matter so much anymore. And it's putting us, we should realize that maybe technology has leveled the playing field where we have to work on diplomacy, because if you don't, we're all going to die.
I think it's an excellent point, and I think what the president has demonstrated is not the might of the U.S. military and the ability of the United States vis-a-vis its military to impose its will on anyone. I think what it's done is really shown the limits and the fact that the days of having Pete Hegseth giving people testosterone shots because they've got to be at their peak fighting ability. I mean, the guy may be younger, but he's thinking like 100-year-old guy. This is just bad strategy.
He's just not smart.
No, he isn't. I mean, the guys you want, who cares what they look like? They're at a keyboard, they're at an engineering bench, and they're coming up with the innovations. So, unfortunately, we have an practically unlimited budget for this stuff. But we don't have that necessity is the mother of invention thing going on, which is really what the Ukrainians have. And they are going to be the reason that they're getting the European support is because they are going to be the bulwark against Russia.
And against China and Iran, honestly, because they have the tech.
And I will say, instead of Rand Paul going on one of his rants, I mean, what are you doing to honor, the late Lindsey Graham, when he said we've got a bill, which is going to put very significant sanctions on Russia. Why didn't you pass that thing before you went on your August recess?
Yeah, listen, because they're fools and idiots, and I don't want to do anything to honor Lindsey Graham. This guy's he's a warmongering murderer.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that one piece of legislation really would have done something maybe to hasten the end of this war.
I want to say something. Listen, I think what Hamas did on October 7th was horrific. And I thought some of the reaction by people here, this is a little off the subject, but I need to say this, was disgusting. Okay? I'm going to stand by that. But if anybody is taking money from AIPAC in 2026, I want you to remind everybody what that actually means. That means the sound of children crying and machine guns going. All right? What they did in Gaza, it is horrible. It is a horror movie. And what they're doing in the West Bank with the, under the authority of the Israeli government is awful. And now, as a kid, I grew up, Tony. Our families were refugees from Europe in a sense too, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Jewish, but we ran from Europe, from the devastation of Europe. Not me, but my ancestors. So we looked, and they came and worked in factories in Western New York, horrible factories, the kind that polluted, sadly, in Niagara County and elsewhere. So, but we have, my whole life I was trained to have sympathy for the Israeli people, the Jewish people, because, they suffered so tremendously in World War II. But I really didn't understand the history of Israel until the last couple of years. And what actually happened and how these people were driven out of Israel, Palestine. And these Palestinian people were dispersed by war and bloodshed. And of course there was reactions to that in the Arab world saying you're killing people. You're taking their homes. But what really is troubling is over the last couple of years, I've watched a few documentaries, like the one by Louis Theroux. Tony, they're showing up to these people's houses in the middle of the night and say, "Get out. We're taking your house." And we're taking your furniture. And the fact that anybody is taking money from a government that's doing that right now shows they have no moral compass. And it's not theoretical. I want you to imagine the sound of children crying as American warplanes bomb refugee camps. Because that's what this is about. Go ahead.
Nate, you could be describing the Vietnam War.
Yes.
They went into villages. They burned them down. They told them to get out. Some of the people were killed. I mean, the United States has done this. People may not like to remember it. They may not want to admit it. But that did happen in Vietnam. And
And it's not the
unfortunately,
soldiers' fault who are forced into situations they don't want to be to by an unlawful draft. But yes, our government and leaders in our government saying it's for the greater good used power for this. But we're talking about right now. If you're taking millions of dollars from AIPAC, whether you're a local congressperson or you're somebody in Michigan running tomorrow, you should not be in office. This is not.
You want to just tell people what AIPAC, what it is, what it stands for?
I don't even understand it. It's some sort of American organization that lobbies on behalf of Israel, but they justify saying it's not really on behalf of Israel. It's on behalf of Israel's interests in the United States, which whatever that means. It's literally the only foreign government that's able to lobby or to act in this way. And they've tried to push laws, which the Stevens out there in Michigan support, saying any criticism of the government of Israel equates to anti-Semitism. And I want to remind people, the word Semitic means from that part of the Middle East. It could apply to Lebanese people or Palestinian people or any other people. But a lot of the people that live in Israel are not Semitic. They're from Poland and Germany. And they moved there 2 generations ago. So it's a very weird thing. So AIPAC is an organization that defends the government of Israel, not the Jewish people, because many Jewish people in the United States agree with everything I'm saying. The government of Israel's interests in the United States. That's how I see it. And they're trying to make that mean any issue related to Jewish people, but it's not what they defend. They defend the interests of a foreign government. Go ahead.
So bottom line, this is something that on the campaign trail, people are going to be able to point out. I guess it's up to the American public to decide whether that is going to be an issue which changes their vote. But at least you're making them cognizant of that. And maybe the bottom line is for whoever is running for various offices, you take a closer look at who is giving them money, because that might be who they are going to be.
Who they're going to serve?
Representing.
Especially when the numbers in the millions. All right,
Yeah.
let's look at this. Is our good buddy Elon Musk. I want to play one last clip, and I want to talk to you about one issue, okay? But this is Elon Musk saying that violence in Europe is worse than the United States. Here we go.
Parts of Britain and Europe which are not safe. You can't just walk around.
But there are far more in this country. Far more.
No, I don't think so.
It's not just Elon Musk who claims that Europe is unsafe. We've heard it from the far right in Britain.
British people are genuinely scared.
The populist right in France.
Parce que on est confronté à une vraie barbarie, on est confronté à un vrai ensauvagement.
And Germany.
The crime rate are skyrocketing.
But the data shows a different picture. If you look at homicide rates, for example, European cities like London, Paris, and Berlin report lower numbers than most major American cities, whether that's New York, Los Angeles, or Chicago. London is often singled out as a particularly dangerous place.
Today you have people being stabbed in the ass.
But even when its homicide rate peaked in 2019, you were still much less likely.
Okay, you get the point. The point is, Elon Musk is saying because of migrants and newcomers and immigrants to Europe, it's a hellhole full of danger and violence. But the statistics show it's far, far, far safer than the United States. Now, as a frequent traveler to Europe, Tony, in the jet-setting life that you lead, where do you feel safer? Would you feel safer wandering in downtown Chicago or in Berlin?
I guess it'd be Berlin. What I will say, though, is this invasion of people from into Spain was just that's sort of a terrifying thing, and I don't think it's right. I think it's got to be better regulated. And if you're looking at that specific example, I got it. But don't forget, you go to New York City, right? New York City has probably the greatest concentration of Jews and Muslims in the United States. And they all get along. We don't have this kind of...
It's funny when I look at the World Cup, okay? You look at the World Cup. Not one of those teams is made of people of ethnic identity related to their country. The German team, the British team, it's a mix, largely of people from Asia and Africa who have immigrated to those countries. So when it comes to the World Cup, yay, diversity, because we want to win. But when it comes to, hey, my neighborhood, no diversity. When the reality is diverse cultures, whether it's Neolithic age or whether it's, the nomadic age, whatever age you look at, actually create great strength. Whether it's ancient Troy in Turkey that was trading with the world, or the United States of the last 30 years that traded with the world. Diverse cultures where all people of different cultures and backgrounds and creeds and religions can interact with each other for business are successful. And actually, from a genetic perspective, like countries where you have a lot of interbreeding are very weak genetically. Countries where you have genetic diversity are strong. So yes, we need to have open borders, but Elon Musk is a racist, and that people hate that word in 2026, but it's true. He believes his pink body, that's like my pink body, is superior to black bodies. And they shouldn't be around because they're culturally inferior because of their skin color. It's primitive thinking. Go ahead.
Well, Nate, I just have to say, when you look at any of our currency, it's got a phrase in Latin that says "e pluribus unum," and it translated means "from many, one."
There you go.
So the history of our country has been from many, one. We have been a destination for many and one. I don't think El Presidente with his $1 Trump coin is going to be able to change that. The fact is, America is a melting pot. It always has been. And it will be into the future.
And by the way, none of you guys are pure genetically. Like, it's a joke. You think you're pure genetically? Do a 23andMe and show me your pure heritage. Okay?
Well, in Nazi Germany,
I went to Ireland and I was like, "Hey, I'm from Ireland. I love you guys." They're like, "Go back to America, you stupid America." Like, I mean, we are Americans. Most of you are locally are Polish, Italian, and Irish, and some mix of that. Okay, stop pretending you have pure. When you start drawing lines to keep people out, pretty soon you're going to see yourself on the other side of the line. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't forget, the energy that we have in this country is brought in by immigrants. We don't have bloodlines, we don't have royalty, we don't have nepo business. It's you want to come here, you just want to be given a shot, and if you work hard, hopefully you can become successful. That's what the promise of America has always been. And don't forget, you go to the Statue of Liberty. I don't know, maybe you want to throw that out too, because it says, "Give me your tired, give me your weak."
They do want to throw it.
Got $100,000 to give me.
Stephen Miller said it shouldn't be on there. It was added later, and it shouldn't be on there.
Well, why doesn't he take it off and see what the American public has to say?
All right, speaking of foreign countries, I want to play Trump's. This is the problem with Trump. He does something like this, and I laugh. And then you kind of forget that he's a psychopath that's ruining the country because it's funny. But here he goes. Trump saying Mexico.
Want to say? What is he saying?
Watch companies move production from America down to Mexico. Mexico. I love the way there's a very nice president of Mexico. You know that. She's very nice, and she speaks beautifully, and she calls it Mexico.
Mexico.
Trump said Mexico. Did you hear that? It's unbearable. It makes you laugh, and you forget this guy's an idiot that's ruining the country. But Mexico. All right.
Listen. When you got Sleepy Joe, I don't know, sleepy, catatonic. I don't know, what would this be? It's just
it's deranged. Staying up all night tweeting out like images of yourself as Elvis Presley is deranged. All right. Yeah. So I want to talk about last thing here. I want to talk about. Listen, I met with some well-intentioned young people. Okay, the other day, way younger than me. Newbies to politics, excited, fervent, and but it was like I was reliving history. I've been through this so many times at this point. And these young, I'm like, what do you guys care about? Do you care about the chemicals in Niagara Falls? Let's fight against that. Do you care about the fact that tariffs are ruining our local economy? Let's talk about that. What do you guys want to fight for? And they're like, well, actually, we don't want to talk issues. We have these spreadsheets that are going to get the votes out, and we got to have these numbers. And I'm like, okay, let me look at your spreadsheets. basically, I'm like, what? I said, what? And I didn't even say that. I said, what are the spreadsheets? They're like, well, it's a name list. I'm just like, so you made a list of phone numbers? I'm like, so I said to them, what is the purpose of this whole political movement for you? I'm like, to get Democrats elected. So I'm like, okay, for what? They're like, to control the legislature. And I'm like, okay,
and then what?
For what? And that circular, like, and I'm like, you don't understand. This is not a team sport. We're fighting for something, right? Like, we're not talking issues today. I'm like, why aren't we talking issues? So finally, I had to play this card because this woman was screaming at me. I said, listen, you're patronizing me. I was the vice president of 2 multi-billion-dollar companies, okay? I don't think you've ever been near a boardroom, okay? And you should use that as something that actually inspires you to cause change. Stop playing corporate lawyer with me and tell me what we're fighting for, and then I'll get behind your spreadsheet, okay? Now, this isn't the first time I had this conversation. I had this conversation in 2018. I had this conversation in 2020. I've had this conversation in 2024. Everybody wants to talk about the system they're creating, but not about the cause they're fighting for. And so I said to them, and I was very strong, I said, guys, you come back with a story, and I'll get behind that story if it's something I believe in. But you're putting it the backwards way. You're saying, we need the system first. I'm like, no. The system advances the story. And I've never been motivated by people like politicians. I've been motivated by people like, Martin Luther King or Kim Dae-jung in Korea or Nelson Mandela. Those are the people that inspire me. I am not motivated by people who do polling to determine what is popular and what is not, or use AI, as they were telling me at this meeting, to determine what issues we should fight for, because that seems to be backward to me, Tony. If the people don't like what we're representing or fighting for, then that's their problem, not to vote for. If they're voting for someone who represents something that's going to hurt their own interests, I can't control that. But I can control what I stand for. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they are potential politicians. I think what they are potential consultants who say, it really doesn't matter to me what you stand for. My job is to get you elected. And so I'm trying to put together these spreadsheets to be able to do that. So I think, they're just not, they're not politicians. They're not people who are going to be in office.
They're not leaders. And a lot of them, I'm going to say, hey, until you put your butt on the line and run for office, don't tell me how to do it. Like, get out there and run, okay?
Well, you have to get in the arena, and most people will not do that. And regardless, I have to say, Nate, whether somebody wins or loses, if they have the nerve to get in the arena and to try to capture some votes based on their ideas or positions or policies, win or lose, I take my hat off to them, because at least they bother to get involved.
My political belief has always been the same. What is right and what is wrong. Stand for what's right, regardless of the consequences. Now, if I have a team behind me that's like crackerjack and can get things done and put spreadsheets together and spread a message, fight for what's right, great. But it's always the opposite. I've had this so many times. Consultants come to me and say, modify your message on this, this, this. And I'm like, listen, I'm pragmatic, but these are not like random issues. These are core issues, things that I believe in. And if there's something I really believe in, I'm not moderating it. If I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose based on what I fight for and what I believe in. Because I'm trying to do more than just win an election. I'm trying to fight for my values. And maybe I'm crazy or naive, but but it also, from a practical perspective, Tony, it always seems to me when I do this, when I put my heart out there, I'm more successful. When I do the consultant thing, which I could give you a million stories, like one example, when I was told by the Democratic Party, I hired this consultant to make a commercial, and the commercial they came back with was an actor that was pretending to be me driving a motorcycle, and they spliced a picture of me and smiling when he turned the corner. I was like, I'm not releasing that video. Like, the stupid ideas they do to like push for things that don't make any sense. I can't be behind it, Tony. I think the consulting class for politicians is just awful. Just awful. And now I'm dealing with people that really are like new to this, and they're just eager. I'm like, guys, this is not the career you want. The career you want should be fighting for things you believe in. I don't see rooms and halls of activists anymore fighting for what they believe in. I see a lot of kids like on the outside wanting to do that, but a lot of people on the inside, they seem to be in it for the wrong reasons, or at least they're confused about what the right reasons are. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I do think that it's difficult to come out and say what you believe. Just look at this. It's the nature of politicians. They've got all these disparate people in a room, and they're trying to convince each of those people there that they understand them and they're going to vote for their interests. But obviously they can't. Obviously they can't, because you cannot please all people. It's not possible to do. So what they do to get elected, these are two different things, Nate. To get elected, they tell everyone what each person wants to hear, each constituency wants to hear. That's what they have to do to get elected. Now, once they get in, they can then say, well, look, you elected me in order to cast these votes as the best, for the best interests of people in my district. And I think where you're different is you're not trying to tell everyone what they want to hear. Even if it conflicts, what you're trying to do is to say, look, this is what I believe in, and I'm hoping that you believe in the same thing. And if you do, contribute to my campaign, working my campaign, and please go out and vote for me and get your friends to vote for me. So,
well, we've had over 2,000 people listen to us this morning on more than that, on the different platforms. It was great to talk to y'all. I think Monday morning is the time to do our podcast, Tony.
Could be.
We have the best results on Monday mornings. And anything you want to say? Listen, I want to say this. America, guys, what gives me hope is there are a lot of good-intentioned people right now getting involved. I went to these No King rallies where I saw no Democrats, by the way, no Democratic candidates in Niagara Falls. Packed. We've had events packed. Even on Little Grand Island, we've had Democratic Party events where there's usually nobody shows up. Packed. I feel an energy out there. Whether that translates to my electoral victory or not, I don't know. But like the event we did at the Wyndham, it was with all these activists or these citizens that were concerned about chemical waste. We set that up as quickly as we could because the DEC failed on their own. And I'm telling you, Tony, this was one of the best events I ever attended. Hundreds of people there. Everybody was kind. Everybody was decent. It really made me feel like this isn't politics as usual. Something's happening in the country where people want change. And I know that sounds pie in the sky and idealistic, but I really believe it. I feel it in my bones. So I'm excited about the future. I think everything has a backlash. I think there's going to be a backlash to the ineptitude of the last few years. And I'm hoping we have a capable, strong America coming soon.
Yep. Well, I agree. Everything's got a shelf life. And after 10 years, I think people are tired of being lied to, tired of being ignored and saying, I matter too, and it ain't working for me. So that's why we have elections. So hopefully we'll see how things play out in a few months.
See you soon, man. Take care.
All right.